continuing about Lucifer, I wanted to mention Libra especially. I haven't Taurus. The energy of Taurus hasn't really opened up to me as much, but Libra. There's this sense Lucifer. It's funny. Lucifer is almost also a little bit Saturnine in the fact that he he wants okay, it's not so much about rules, it's more about give and take. Libra scale, the scale is balance. If you give something, you get something. If I give you something, you should give me a little something back, Libra, and it's a little bit if someone has placements of Libra, there can even be a little bit of anger or bitterness that comes when they don't get something back. So I think that some of I think a lot of the cultural things in the world has become a lot more sterile and almost mercantile. Not almost mercantile, like quite mercantile, but I think behind sort of the more capitalistic industrialist side of it, there's this Libra energy of you go to the store, you pay for something, you get something, you go, you work, you get what you think you deserve, kind of. And so I feel that some of the game of society of when you go to a job interview and they ask you what uh, what you want to be paid, and then you say I want to be paid X, and what they're doing is they want you to say oh, I think I would be I think I would deserve this much money. And then they give you this much money, they give you what you deserved compared to what you said that you deserved. So that's that's Libra, right? If you don't think you deserve something, you kind of get what you think you deserve. And this is because Venus is very related to manifestation. So I think Venus, for example, if you have prograde Venus, you should act and manifest things. If you have a retrograde Venus, you should just let things come to you and be very internalizing and just attracting. So when you see people on the internet I don't chase, I attract, probably they have a retrograde Venus. It's good to know. I think it's good to know these things. It's bad to know them without knowing how they work. But at some point in the occult, everything's mysterious, and the various higher beings just sprinkle the knowledge down bit by bit. So we're all in the dark. Even the best are in the dark. So, but yeah, I think Libra really, there's this sort of Luciferian order in the world at the moment, and so a lot of that, I think a lot of the, let's say, tricks in society that keep people asleep have to do with this balance of, or I think a lot of times guilt tripping people, and this really weird a lot of the ways society is controlled are really bizarre from the occult perspective even. So I guess maybe, oh, you have to go out and work. You owe it to others around you who also have dead end corporate jobs to also go get a dead end corporate job, or maybe it's not dead end, but it's not going to take you somewhere spiritually enriching or something. So there's even a Libra energy, but it's sort of a negative, almost the shadow of Libra, shadow Libra energy, I guess. You owe me. I gave you something. You owe me now. Okay. How much do you owe me? Well, how much do you think you owe me? And there's kind of this psychological trick of making people expand things in their mind, which there's a lot to that in magic. If you can have a soul tie with someone. If you tell them, if you make some kind of agreement with them, even very frivolous, sometimes people are narcissistic and be like, oh, you're like my child or something, because at some subconscious level they understand that If they get you to agree with that, they have some kind of power over you, and so you can just break the soul tie by in your mind saying, "No, I don't, I'm not interested in that anymore. I don't believe that. They're not my, they're not related to me in that way. I don't relate to them in that way," kind of thing. And that can help break the soul tie, or you can do a cord cutting with candles or something like that. I would say doing something ceremonial is more powerful. Um, but what you can do with a lot of these things is you can make the sword mudra, um, which is also Aliphus Levi says that this is the symbol of the occult, or the hand sign of the occult. I don't really know what that means. I know that it's used as the magic sword in ceremonies, just using this mudra. So you can use the magic sword, or you can use the mudra of the magic sword. And this is a common thing, common in ceremonial magic, anyways. So I think that's what Aliphus Levi meant. I don't know. I haven't read Aliphus Levi. He's on my reading list behind the Enneads and a few other things. So I'll get to it eventually, maybe, hopefully, if and when I get interested in it. So, um, so yeah, I think understanding the way society works, Libra is actually very very instructive and very interesting. Um, I do have a little bit of insight into Taurus, just a little bit, but it hasn't fully opened to me. Taurus, I think, is the side of Venus that's like wealth, comfort, um, you know, there's some stubbornness to it, but it's almost like a lazy stubbornness. Um, so that's as bad. Like I feel it, I feel the energy, but it hasn't opened to me, right? So, all right, it has a little bit, but I just haven't had. Uh, I don't know a ton about Taurus. Um, yeah. I guess one last thing about talking about the planet Venus is Venus is exalted in Pisces. So this this is because Venus likes to be spiritual, and its spirituality, it being in a spiritual place, sort of purifies the materialism of Taurus, Earth, and the sort of kind of mechanical give and take of Libra, air being related to mind. Um, so I think that's really interesting. Um, like if you have Venus in Pisces, whichever house, that can be a cool placement. But I mean, everything in one's chart exists in reference to everything else. Um, so yeah, I mean, you can look at a planet and you can understand a lot just from the placement of the planet without considering the relationships. You can understand something that way, but if you look at the houses and the aspects, that's where the real details come through. So I mentioned Satanism and Luciferianism at the beginning, so I'll talk through that a little bit. Luciferianism, I think, is more sort of philosophical. Like, I'll start with Luciferianism because I think Satanism, I want to maybe take my time with a little bit, but Luciferianism, it's like some people that are Luciferians believe that Jesus was Lucifer and that he incarnated, that Lucifer incarnated on Earth as Jesus. I don't think that's the case. I think Jesus brought a new current of magic and is kind of above even planetary influences. But you know, it's interesting. I think that it could be possible that Lucifer and Jesus were sort of on the same team somehow. Um, the book of John going on about Jesus being the light that entered the world, uh, and Lucifer is all about the light. Lucifer, Shukradeva, the planet Venus in Hinduism is white. The color associated with Venus is white in Hinduism and Jyotish astrology, and then in Western it's green. I think green refers more to like Aphrodite. or even like Astarte and whatnot. So I haven't pieced together what that really means, but yeah. So Luciferianism is a Gnostic idea of like Jesus came to thwart the demiurge. But the idea is if Elohim, if what is it? Jehovah, if Jehovah was the demiurge or is the demiurge, yeah. And he's this big lion-headed, snaking serpent thing that breathes fire. If that's what Jehovah is, and he's the enemy, and he crafted this delusion for us, this whole existence is his creation, but there's something higher, there's something spiritual above this, the Aeon. If that's true, then if Lucifer rebelled against Jehovah, against the demiurge, Yaldabaoth, then isn't he the good guy? That's the logic of Luciferianism. Now, I believe Gnosticism is partially correct. I believe that they saw the North Node Rahu. They saw the dragon's head, and they decided that that was God. And I think that that's actually kind of an easy mistake to make. Because if you lots of people astral project and they go out and they see this thing, and they're like, oh my God, it's the demiurge, and it's huge, and it's there, you know. It actually polices astral travel a lot, you know. And it's one of the more startling things, I think, in astral projection, at least in my experience, you know. So I think it's not so difficult to mistake that for God. And I think there's more to it than that even. So I think Gnosticism, I personally have a little bit of a conspiracy theory that Gnosticism may be developed out of the sort of Essene tradition. Maybe that's just something that people that are interested in Gnosticism already know for a fact, and or you know, I don't know, you know, I don't know things I don't know, you know. So basically, Luciferianism is just a Luciferic extrapolation of Gnosticism, which I think is pretty cool. I think it's interesting. I think Lucifer is a very high vibrational energy, but and I'm saying high vibrational here. Here, when I say vibration, I mean vibration. I mean he's very attractive in a manifestation sense. There's a resonance to it. There is a feeling of vibration. In fact, Venus seems to be the sort like the sort. It's related to manifestation. Like if you look at like the manifestation crowd, Neville Goddard, stuff like that. That's all Venusian energies. That's all Venus. Venus is about manifesting. Jupiter can also manifest, but Jupiter's manifestation is different. Jupiter makes you the king because he is the guru. He is the advisor to the king. So if you work with Jupiter, Jupiter is becoming your advisor. And because he's giving you good advice, you are making the right decision. So you're not really manifesting. You're more like receiving in a way. You're and there's more to it. There's like a side of it I'm not willing to just, you know, tell on the internet exactly. I'm feeling that I shouldn't tell this one thing. So but Jupiter is different. It's not manifestation in like the conventional pop occult sense, but Venus is that energy is all Venus. So if you want to know, you know, why that beach house isn't manifesting, look at the position of your Venus, you know, is it afflicted or things like that, you know. So I'm sorry if I think that the manifestation thing is hilarious because I think it works for a lot of people, yeah, but I don't know, I don't I just find it funny. So I forgot what I was talking about there for a second. So Lucifer being sort of high vibrational and attractive and whatnot. Yeah, so I think there's a like the energy of Lucifer is kind of almost impossible to relate with or it's impossible to feel that he's. It's almost I almost want to say it's impossible to feel that he's this demonic, malevolent thing. He has a bitterness, he has a spite to him. That he has that, and he also is involved in necromancy. So a lot of necromantic magic is related to the planet Venus, and this relates to in the Eastern tradition where Shiva teaches him how to raise the dead, and that's a power that he uses to constantly revive the demons to kind of balance the fact that the gods have Amrita. The demons just keep uh, coming back to life, keep being resurrected by Shukra. So, um, yeah. So the thing is, in the Eastern tradition, he's not a demon. He is one of the gods. He's one of the angelic beings, but he just works as the guru of the demons. I don't know what the relationship with the demons is exactly. I know that uh, there was one demon whose name I forget that opposed Shiva. That Shiva, I think he was gonna like blast. I think it was Indra and Brihaspati, Indra and Jupiter. He was gonna blast them with his third eye, but then one of the gods was like, "No, don't blast them." And then he emitted from his third eye this demonic person, and I think it was a child, it was a baby. So a baby was born from his third eye, emitting into the water, I think, which is interesting. As if the ocean was then the womb, and then the wrathful third eye blast was the seed, the information, the DNA of this demonic being. That's really really fascinating. So I'm not sure if we're supposed to think that this is really an expansion of Shiva in this weird way, or if there's actually a demonic soul then seeded by this act. So I think that's fascinating to think about in this case. So this demon, he was raised by Varuna, the basically Titan of universal waters, and so Varuna is a little bit of a demonic being. Or I'm not sure how to consider the Daityas and Danavas, the Mer and the Titans, or really just the Titans even. And then so he's raised by Varuna, and then he went and trained under Shukra, and Shukra trained him to in I guess various magical arts and maybe spirituality, or I don't know what exactly. So I bring this up because Shukra or Lucifer in the Vedic wrote, um, I mean he's ruling a planet, right? So and there's different stories about how like he fraternizes with the demons, or that he and then it's just known that he's the asura. He's the what is it? What's this? Asuracharya. That's what it is. Founder of the demonic religion. So, but he's not demonic himself. So I don't exactly understand this connection of Lucifer with the demonic. Like, okay, or I don't understand the nature of it, like how it works. That's what I'm trying to say. But I think it's really interesting that like Shiva gives birth to like the worst enemy he's ever had through his eye beam into the waters, and Shukra was there to teach him. There is an element of the universe just needs certain roles filled. So, is there an element of Lucifer slash Shukra understood that this was a role that needed to be filled and filled it? I don't know. There's some idea about that within Kabbalah with Samael, who I would connect actually more with Shiva or Shani Dev, but you know that's like my own theory. So yeah. Okay, so Luciferianism, uh, I think it becomes more of a conversation piece compared to like Satanism. I don't know a lot of people going around calling themselves Luciferians. Um, I think that the whole like Luciferian, like taking apart the word Luciferian, uh, or using it in a different context, like in the Starseed community, the evil aliens are supposed to be like the Luciferian covenant. That I think that's pretty interesting. So I be looking into that. So yeah, uh, I think there is a little bit of a connection with like sort of vaguely metaphorically between the Gnostic Luciferianism and the like say Luciferian covenant, Luciferian beings or Luciferian alliance. I meant not. I think there's an interesting connection between those two of what is meant by Lucifer. Uh, I take the starseed stuff somewhat seriously, but I believe that there probably is one being of Lucifer, one being of Saturn, even if there's other players also involved. So, moving on to Satanism. Okay, Satanism with like Anton LaVey. Supposedly, it's all about empowering yourself and believing you are God or you are better than others, etc., etc. I personally think that maybe they provide some kind of atheistic experience to some people who will just go in and pay, because I know you can pay them to do unbaptisms or some drat. um, I'm sure it's powerful, actually. Um, just like um, I think probably secretly they hold some more interesting, controversial ideas. Um, I don't know. I mean, I see pictures of people who are Satanists, and I see like a lot of negativity, and not really in the atheistic sense. You know, for me, I feel that they are a lodge of black magicians, but you know, that's a conspiracy theory. I know, that comes from someone I don't trust, actually. Yeah, so there's that. Then there's like other groups that are into Satan as the symbol of the rebel against the bad system. I think that's kind of cool. But still, you have people like wanting to make contracts with Satan, and I think the idea is that like in America, Christianity is so heavy and is so imprisoning of the mind, especially the Protestant faith. I don't know of this problem being so tight in the Catholic Church, but I mean, because the Christian or the Protestant faith, it's like there's such a guilt to it. There's such a feeling of like trying to, uh, okay. It says in Romans, I believe, that none are good, no, not one. That's what Paul said. That it says also, I forget where, that all of one's good deeds are as filthy rags to Jesus, to the Lord. So it's this idea that anything you do to try and earn yourself something with God, he doesn't care. He's like, receive my free gift of eternal life, and that's it. You can't give me something back that's better than that. I think there's a powerful esoteric element to that where it's true, but I think the way it's used in the church is to bully people into being, good little churchgoers that will never have a strong ability to look in the mirror and understand themselves and say, okay, this quality about me is good, that quality about me is bad. Like I remember so many times they would do the body of Christ. We would talk about the body of Christ in different churches, and it's like, okay, one person's the hands, one person's the eyes, but okay, what am I? Am I the hands? Am I supposed to like serve? Am I the eyes? Is my discernment useful? What am I? What is Sheila? What is Betty? What is Dave? What is like what are our roles? Because if we don't have roles, it doesn't you know what I mean? So this is just, I think that Christianity works, is what I'm trying to say, to some extent. I think it's outlived its usefulness a little bit, but I think it works, and I think that religion just massively fucks it up. Like the machinery of religion and the fact that people don't know shit like about anything, it seems like a lot of the time. or just don't ask themselves the hard questions. So people just stay in this comfort zone of guilt, and the churches push this. So to me, I view it as being at least a little malicious. I can't believe that, you know, a bunch of pastors and whatnot just that's their view on it, and I never thought of anything better. I mean, the text itself is better than what they teach. Like, you know, okay, we talk sola scriptura, but yeah. Anyways, relating this to Satanism, um, so a lot of people get so wrapped up in the psychology of that, of sort of the spell of guilt, of self-loathing, even of loathing one's own desires and so many other things. So many people get trapped in that, like in that severe repression that actually makes you repress yourself. That then they look, I think, for some system to then make them like come out of that. Like I've heard it so many times. People were like, whether it's YouTubers, personal friends, just people posting on occult groups, whatever. I've heard the story so many times of like, oh, I was a good Christian kid, and then I went to Satanism, you know, rebellion, you know. I be like, people be like, oh, I had, you know, was having all these crazy sexcapades and was drinking and doing every drug under the sun, and you know, I joined a gang, or you know, who knows what, you know. I know some people that they're into Satanism that it's not like that for them, but actually a lot of these systems have mellowed out a lot. Satanism, I think, has gotten a bit more mellow, but like I know some people, they're just chill people, they're into that kind of thing, but yeah, people get into Satanism though as sort of a psychological device, just like, you know, Anton LaVey's thing, to as a psychological device to release them from the guilt of Christianity, as a ceremonial device. Which, if you understand ceremonial magic, it's actually pretty interesting. Also, I think you could even talk about this in terms of chaos magic. So I think that's pretty neat. Yeah. There's a lot of edgelording when you get into this realm of the occult. So there's left-hand path, because this is left-hand path, like automatically. This is starting to get even to like the dark, maybe even the darker side of left-hand path, or something. I know people will be getting into like curses and black magic with Satanism too, because there's a little bit of an element of people like the philosophy of being free, of this sort of libertine, self-aggrandizing philosophy, which has some benefits. You know, I think I was gonna say Thelma is maybe similar. I don't know about that, but like I think I see Aleister Crowley in that sort of philosophy, not system. You know, Satanism didn't even exist when he was alive, but yeah, I think that I believe Satanism was inspired by his work. So, if I recall, probably he inspired everything that's going on today in the occult. If it wasn't for him and Israel Regardie, like, how many of us would know anything? Anyways, so yeah, Satanism, there's this element of using it as a psychological device, and then there's people that, like, you know, really just want to get into edgelording, like, and it's effective. I want to say that, but they're just drawn towards the dark, and they just want to keep going darker, and they may even say it's a psychological device, but then it's like, oh, I did a cliff off meditation, and now I'm buried in demons. Whoops, you know. I mean, you know, stuff like that. So Satanism's interesting. I think I have one friend. I guess I wouldn't. We don't talk too often, but I consider him a good friend, and he is more or less a Satanist / maybe more warlock. But yeah, so he told me he was part of the Joy of Satan. And I looked into it, and they seemed a lot better. They seemed more like Luciferian, but they still worship Satan. And I think there's this conflation of Satan and Lucifer. Well, I know there is, right? Like, it's it's and it's terrible. It's you know, this friend of mine, he knows. I understand that he's dealing with the genuine Satan energy, and he understands and he likes that energy. But I think a lot of people are thinking Lucifer, but they say Satan, or they're liking that Luciferian archetype, but they are saying Satan. I think actually they like the Saturn archetype more than they think they would. They you know they want that Capricorn energy of liberation, um, sort of materialistic liberation. So yeah. Anyways,